Hi, my name is Rauf Madani, your instructor with HiCounselor. So today we will have some lectures of JavaScript tutorial from beginner to advanced. It's like a complete guide of JavaScript for beginner to advanced learners. So today we're going to be tackling Module 11. Uh, it's about DOM and more browser APIs. So this is our module scheme. We're gonna use some data attributes. We're gonna be learning about box dimensions, how we get element from it, working with element sizes and position, the DOM and some DOM elements prototypes, positioning the tooltip, also handling scrolling, working with tags, loading scripts dynamically, the location history objects, navigator object, working with dates, and the error object and constructor function. So this is like a lot of lectures. It's an interesting module, and we will have like some prerequisites like before tackling this kind of lectures, and there are some lectures who don't need a prerequisite. So I'm happy to have you here with me, and let's start with our first lecture, which is using that data set. Hey, so one of the best ways to store data in HTML is with data attributes. This is our lecture. Hence, these data attributes can be used to do some pretty cool things in CSS without the need of JavaScript. But however, data attributes are most useful when combined with JavaScript. In this lecture, I will teach you exactly how to use data attributes in JavaScript and what makes them so powerful. So this is a brief introduction, and in order to get started talking about data attributes, we need to first have some HTML with data attributes to create. So to create a data attribute in HTML, we just need to custom attribute to our HTML element that starts with data dash. Let's use the annotate here. As you see, we have a simple div, and with three data attributes. So we have data dash first dash name, which is Kylie, data dash last dash name, which is Cook, and data dash active. This is our div. So this is the data attributes that we need to start with. And actually, here we're gonna create some data attributes. As you see here, we now have a div with three custom data attributes. Now let's move over to JavaScript to see how we would access these data attributes. So basically what we have done here is we stored the our DOM element, which is the div. As you know, we put ID equals or receives test dash div. This is our ID. So we're gonna store that element in our div thanks to get element by ID. And then we log we're gonna log console log the div.dataset. So basically div is an object, and the dataset it's a property. So we're gonna use this property in order to access in order to read our attributes. So here the dataset property on element will return a DOM string map, which is essentially just an object that contains all the custom data attributes of an element. Our data set looks like this. As you see here, we have first name Kylie. So this is our JavaScript object, and we could read the data attributes thanks to the property data sets. Here you will notice two interesting things about what we have seen earlier. The first thing is like all of our properties are converted from snake case first name, as you see with dash, to camel case, which you see here is the first name with like capital. It's camel case in the second word here, first letter of the second word name, instead of the dash here. So this is, I mean, here we had, like access the word Kylie using JavaScript. So div, which is the object dot data set, which is the property of div, and then dot first name, but with here, as you see, it's camel case in the second word, because like earlier, I'm going to show you what we have done earlier. As you see here, we have the, or is it? Yes, here we have dash, data dash first name. Here, as you see, we have dash between first and name. But like in order to access it via JavaScript, as you see here, in our object, we had like first name with camel case in the first letter of the second name. So this is like pretty easy. This is because in JavaScript, objects properties are primarily like written as camel case. So this just makes working with JavaScript object much easier. And secondly, the second thing, if like you have noticed, is like the active property has a value of, as you see, like it's an empty string. Here it's an empty string, even like before our lecture. Yeah, here the object active, as you see, the value, the property active, its value is an empty string. And as you see here, the active property has a value of an empty string. So this is because any data attribute without a value is assumed to have an empty string as its value. Now, in order to access an individual data attribute, we just access it like a property on an object, since data set is just an object. As you see here in our example. So this is like how we access our data attributes via JavaScript. It's pretty easy. Let's move on to the next title, which is writing data attributes in JavaScript. For example, in order to create a new data attribute in JavaScript, we just need to add a new property to the dataset objects. It's here. So as you see here, we have like a const div which receives our div elements, and we're gonna like so this is, it's like we're gonna creating a new attribute, which is like dataset.test, so receives the string hi. And when we console log it, we're going to receive the output will be hi. So this is how we write data attributes when we write a new data attribute. And this will update the dataset object and our HTML, which means our HTML will look like this. As you see here, it will look like this. So we have the dataset data dash test receives hi. So it's awesome how JavaScript allows us to control and to play with data attributes. It makes it pretty easy. So let's clear the all drawings. Yep. And let's move on to the next title, which is updating data attributes. So let's say that we now want to update the value of data attributes. This is incredibly easy since it works just like a normal object. We just need to set the value of our dataset property to the new value, and it will update the HTML for us. As you see here, we have a const div, which receives always, like we are sticking to the same example. So for example, we want to update the first name. It's just, we're gonna target the first name, the property first name, and we this data attribute will receive the string Sally, and we console log it, and we will have Sally. So automatically the HTML will look like this. As you see here, the data first name, it will receive Sally, as you see here. It's pretty easy using JavaScript, and we're gonna see a lot of we're gonna see some examples about it. So let's move to the next table, which is deleting the data attributes. So deleting data attributes is a bit different because, like, since we need to actually remove the property from our objects, this is because if we try setting the value to undefined or null, the data set object will still have a reference to that property with that value of undefined or null, and will set the value of our HTML data attribute to the string null or undefined. So in order to delete an element, we need to use the delete keyword to remove it completely from the object. Otherwise, it will always have the reference of it, or the object reference. So as you see here, we are using the keyword delete, and it's for JavaScript. So here we are deleting our active property, our active data. So here we console log it, and as you see here, it's undefined. So when we this will automatically update the dataset object and our HTML, which means our HTML will look like this. So there is no data active attribute here, as you see.